Well, thank you. Good evening and welcome back to the We Are Rise show. I'm your host, Brett C. Collins. How you doing on this Hump Day Wednesday? Welcome in everybody on Pilled, on YouTube, on Rumble. What's going on? Yeah. Last night in Michigan, they nominated a terrorist for senator. Can you believe it? Yeah, I can. We're going to cover that tonight. We got so much. I'm going to unload and unpack. You're probably going to see a very dark side of me tonight because, let's face it, man. I mean, we're probably going to have some type of scenario that's going to happen in the next month or two, probably in October. Whether or not you see it or understand it, it's right in your face. It's right in your face. Marxist, socialist, communists masking as jihadi Islamists. They think we're stupid. They actually tell us that we're stupid, or at least the voters that voted for these suckers in some way. Those are suckers. Yeah. You voted for these people. Shame on you. You should not be allowed to vote anymore. But that's the world we're living in. We have people right now that are that they're vitriol. Let me just put it this way, that they're so vitriolic, whether about anything across the board, especially from what we've seen on many different levels where people are being pulled apart, the acrimony, the rancor, the mordant costed behavior by people like MTG and Tucker have driven these people to this area in some way. And they say they want to start another platform, but what they want to do is undercut the establishment. And I get that. I understand that. But, you know, you have these choices in some way. They're not on the ballot. Okay? MTG, Tucker, and stuff. What they are is they're selling you a lie. And that lie is forcing you to go and vote or convincing you that voting for what we see Al-Syad in Michigan. I'm just going to call him a Muslim terrorist because he is. Muslim Brotherhood terrorist. Yeah. Yeah, he is. Yeah. Not going to be, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. But the vitriol towards Israel, and look, I'll be the first one to tell you right now, I don't like the state of Israel or the leadership. But the problem is that what I was saying is that the hatred for some people, okay, whether it's the Jewish state per se, it's the people per se, has outweighed any type of, let's just say, competence in some way. They're fear and loathing of the state because of AIPAC, and you saw how much money was going into the actual opponent of Al-Syad in some way, really was the driving force where people were calling in and say, well, if AIPAC's going to donate to this person, I'm going to vote for this because this Muslim, he hates Christians, he hates Jews, he hates everybody across the board. So if you're not Muslim, we're not going to accept you. And I think overall is the reason why that was a tight race. And I think something else which might be equally ugly and perfectly treacherous for something greater to, let's just say, happen. So welcome in tonight. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. If you want to support the channel, buymeacoffee.com/wearrise. You can also go on Rumble as well and drop us a Rumble rant. Let's hear your comments, questions, thoughts. Michigan, where dreams get hijacked, literally. You see my 9/11 talking point, where dreams get hijacked. Yep, they did. They did. And who did they get hijacked by? I mean, who are the suckers that voted for this Muslim Brotherhood terrorist? We're going to have election talk. The enemy from within. And there are many elements of that. And I'm going to give you my opening statement tonight, so bear with me. I want you guys to hear what I have to say. So welcome to tonight's show, the We Are Rise show. Tonight, we're diving into major developments. Yes, we are. That connect to long-running questions about the FBI's conduct with fresh national security concerns. First, the investigative journalist John Solomon is reporting on newly declassified documents released this morning by the White House Government Transparency Task Force. They expose an FBI criminal investigation, codename Oxford Comma, a deliberate play on the Oxford comma that was opened in May 2017. The probe treated then President Trump as a potential Russian agent simply for firing FBI Director James Comey. extending the Russia collusion narrative. And even after the agents have already found no evidence of collusion, debunked key elements of the Steele dossier, and cleared figures like Michael Flynn, Solomon's reporting details how the investigation was used to help push for the appointment of special counsel Robert Mueller. We'll examine what these documents reveal about the FBI's actions from the original Russia collusion probe. It's disgusting. Through to the Oxford comma. Second, in Michigan, progressive Democrat Abdul El-Sayed has narrowly won his party's U.S. Senate. Primary critics, including Republican voices and some national security analysts, are labeling him as a suspected terrorist sympathizer. Yes, he is. And raising alarms over alleged family and network ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. Linked organizations. And third, that brings us directly to today's Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing chaired by Senator Ted Cruz, titled Hidden in Plain Sight. How interesting that was going on while this was all happening. This is tied to confronting the Muslim Brotherhood network in America. Cruz highlighted El-Sayed's primary victory and claimed family's connections to the Brotherhood group as part of a broader discussion of the organization's allowed influence and activities inside the United States. Democrats in the subcommittee boycotted the hearing. What a shocker there, because they're terrorists too. We'll break down the new Oxford comma revelations, the Michigan Senate nominee controversy, and key takeaways from Ted Cruz's hearing. Stick around. This is going to be a packed episode. So yes, thank you all for sticking around and hearing those comments tonight. I just want to share that with you. I want to opine about what we're going to discuss and go into it, because a lot of people, they come in middle of the road. They want to understand we jump around. I want people to understand what is happening, what is going on. President Trump today was in Vegas. We'll cover some of the we'll briefly cover some of the, let's just say, the attempted assassination. I guess there was another where they arrested somebody at the Trump golf course in California. So we'll cover some of that. I mean, it's, the fact that this is still happening and this continues on, I blame the left and right. I blame some people on the right too. I do. I mean, I'm actually now moving into the territory of blaming MTG and Tucker and all these other people, because they're escalating this. They're escalating this completely, that Trump lied to us, he failed. And what they're doing is they're giving you talking points and narratives, all right, to raise this rancor out there, to continue on with the hatred and the vitriol. And what they're doing is they're just spreading it around like butter, and they think we're going to digest this. And they're going to say, that's okay. It's okay. It's fine. This is the way we handle this, okay? No, this is not how we handle this, all right? But if they don't want pushback, wait till you see our, let's just say, return of fire. I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be pretty. Darla, I'll get to the cookie. I never paid close attention to the song Dirty Laundry before until now, and I started singing in my head. Wow, I need to listen to it again. Welcome to the show. Thank you for the cookie. Trusty Turnip, what's up? Who's here tonight? Patty B, Biblical Smackdown, what's up? Darla L, thank you for the cookie. Good evening, Brett. Give us the lowdown, dirty details. I will. I just want to say hi to everybody. Curious Cat, Wood USA. Thea, thank you for the 300 gold pills. Who else is here tonight? I just want to say hi to everybody. Thank you, Curious Cat, for the cookie. Wood USA for the 219 gold pills. How you doing, my friend? What's going on? Hello over there. Tracer C4, Gnaw Dog, True Terran on Rumble, Lena Perino on YouTube, usual suspects. All right, let's get to tonight's discussion. Let's get into a lot of the stuff that I'm really going to break down. I think, listen, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. Things are they going as according to plan? Now, remember, I told you that we probably will see some variation of the Save America Act, whether through President Trump's executive order or through what the Senate is going to authorize through certain, let's just say, variances they're going to put out through certain provisions in bills. I said that. Look for October or look for the end of August or September, and I think we're getting close to that. I think that's a big deal, and we're going to cover this tonight. So President Trump, here we are. He's right now in Las Vegas, or was in Las Vegas. So let's listen. Yep. Yep. And it's sad. It's sad what's going on in Michigan. It's sad that, the problem is that when you look at the Democratic nomination or nominees and stuff, they had, basically this one Democrat, this female that is just, who's getting droves and droves of money, of APEC money coming in there, whether it was on purpose or not. A lot of people saw that and they're like, well, if she's going to take that APEC money, I'm voting for this guy. And that's what really drove the narrative in some way. Israel, okay, and AIPAC were on the actual, ticket, so to speak. The main argument and objection of what was happening was the anti-Semitic or anti-Israel, let's just say, theatrical, momentum that was picking up. And the reason why a lot of people, because I was watching a lot of people, that clip was muted. Really? Again? Oh. Hold on. I got to get out of this. Hold on. Okay. I don't know why. It's fucking, I'm just going to fuck. I'm just going to blow it up. That's it. Hey, man, I tell you. God, I fucking hate them. I hate StreamYard now. I do. I'm really looking into other stuff. I've been spending time doing that. I'm definitely going to get fucking rid of StreamYard. I'm sick of it. All right, let's play it again. Can you hear it now?
And that's where the communists will take us 100%. When I watch Abdul, he's full of shit.
Yeah, so he's in Vegas touting his Trump accounts and all the other things, the tax rebates and all the stuff. He's calling out Abdul Sayad, who winning this, that he's full of shit, that all the communists are the same thing. They're all fake and gay, and they overpromise you, underdeliver, and they give you the opposite of what they're saying. That's what President Trump is pointing out. He's like, look, it's all garbage, it's all fake, but we should also consider that that guy in general is problematic. Yes, he's dangerous, and his ties that we see today that were being discussed in the subcommittee being chaired by Ted Cruz regarding in plain sight about this, Muslim Brotherhood problem that we're facing in this country is continually getting worse. And I think that it's not shocking that 5 Democrats that sit on that committee decided not to show up because they don't want to blanket all the Muslims. Look, it's what I said to you. It's the same thing what I said to you about the Stephen Wright, comedic act, back in the 80s and 90s, all Japanese people don't carry cameras. All Mexicans don't have oil paintings hanging in their house. All Chinese people aren't spies. And the last part, and this part, all Muslims, are not what? Terrorists. Yep. There you go. I think that's fulfilling what I'm trying to say. That's the point. That's what we need to enunciate, because it comes back to what? The Quran, which is a violent book, that doesn't teach peace, and unification. What it does is basically it's like your enemies are what? Israel, Christians, or anybody else that doesn't comport or compute with what we say, And basically it's built on a pedophilic, let's just say, undertone. So I don't want to hear all this stuff about these people. This dirt slop group of people, I'm sick of them. I mean, what you see is happening in Michigan, that's spreading in different areas in Oklahoma or other places across the United States. In Texas, it's gross. It's perverted. And you know what? If this is the final bottle, let's go. Let's bring back certain provisions that we had during the Crusades. I'm all for it. It's like the scene that you had in London Is Falling. When terrorists kidnapped the president, they killed all these other people, and it's about them pushing back. And what does he say? What does he say at the end? He's like, we've been killing you fuckers for 1,000 years, and you know what? When you're gone, we'll still be fucking killing you. And that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. We have to look at these people. They're inside the gates. The enemy is within on many different areas, and we have to push back because it's getting worse. It's getting ugly, and I think very soon we're going to have a problem inside this country, another 9/11. Yeah, it's going to be worse than that. I think so. Get ready. We're coming up on the 25th anniversary. So I'm not going to be shocked or surprised something happens because you're seeing this, clear as day. So President Trump is calling out the Senate Republicans for being useless on the Save America Act. Listen to what he says today. I think this was fantastic.
Fair and strong elections, they would lose 25% of their base. They would never be elected again. And I'm trying to explain that to Republicans, but some of them don't quite understand it. They don't understand it.
You're not hearing the sound again? Hold on. I don't know why you're not hearing the sound. I got to do this individually every time. That's crazy. It's unbelievable. Man, it used to be a lot more simpler, but when you got to use different things, I got to use Brave and I got to use Chrome just to feature this, and it's just terrible. It's terrible. Terrible.
If you had fair and strong elections, they would lose 25% of their base. They would never be elected again. And I'm trying to explain that to Republicans, but some of them don't quite understand.
No, they won't get it.
They don't understand it because they're good people. They're good people. They don't know how crooked these people are. I've dealt with a lot of crooked people in my life. They don't know how bad these people are. We got to get the Republicans to be tougher, especially in the Senate, especially in our Senate. Got to get the senators in there. They got to be tough. But they voted in favor of the transgender mutilization of your children. And they voted in favor of men and women's sports. Can you imagine?
He's just pointing out, I know it's low. There's nothing I could do about the sound when that's being recorded. Maybe I could have got it from somebody else that was better at picking that sound up. And that came from Nick Sorter. So the point was, he's saying, look, I'm trying to convince them, trying to get them in some way to focus on this completely, to focus on the agenda of passing this, because what just took place in Detroit, what just took place in Michigan in general, is problematic for our country. And he's basically saying, if we don't stop this, we're going to have another rigged election, and we're going to continue on dealing with it. Now you enter in Muslim Brotherhood. Now you enter in what? A true, straight up motherfucking terrorist in the Senate. Yeah, not good, not pretty. I don't think he's going to win. Mike Rogers, I think right now, what I'm hearing is that what I see is that a lot of Democrats right now, even Fetterman, I'll vote for him. A lot of people like, I'm going to vote for Mike Rogers because I'm not voting for a terrorist. And I think right now you're starting to see more people where that information is going to come out, drip out. So Warlord Diddy puts this out. Let me share this. Okay. And this is a perfect intro to what we're discussing, because I think the meme is hitting. You're starting to hear this right now. We're getting into election territory. We got the Florida primary coming up. You got the South Carolina runoff and primary that's coming up. There's a lot of things that are happening in some big states, some swing states, some primary states. But look, the bottom line is things are heating up, and they're heating up quickly, and we have to be focused on this stuff and not let our hatred and our anger. You can hold two competing thoughts. Okay, you can hold multiple competing thoughts. Okay, even that are contradictory. All right, even that are put it this way, not just controversial and contradictory, but they are completely divergent of oneself, all right, or both thoughts. And I think in some way, in the same mind and in the same time, without having you to what? Probably collapse, because you're having a hard time with this dialectic thinking. And I think that's what it is. You know, the dichotomy that exists on certain things. Like at one end, you're like, okay, yeah, I don't like the state of Israel, blah, blah, blah. I don't like all this other stuff. And since that opponent took all that AIPAC money, I'm going to go vote for the Muslim terrorist. Yeah, that makes sense, because I hate the Jews so much, I got to vote for a Muslim terrorist. That makes complete, absolute what? Nonsense. And I think that's the point. Did anybody really like al-Sayad and blame him? Yeah, it was young people. That's why we need to raise the voting age. I think we need to raise it to what? To 25, maybe 26, maybe 27. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it in general because a lot of these people that are young have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. They have no idea about voting. They have no idea about, and they're just single issue, binary thinking people. I'm going to vote on this. Well, I hate Israel, so I'm going to vote for the Muslim terrorist. Or I'm going to get free goodies over here because of this or because of the Gaza thing. I mean, honestly, a lot of this stuff doesn't even impact us, but that's how these people are thinking. That's how they got them thinking. That's how they got them, let's just say, conveniently assuaged or alleviated to soothe their bottom in some way from the itch that they have, that they got to scratch. They can no longer, let's just say, have a really conscious thought about what they're really voting for. It's a very scary thing. Yeah, Byron Donalds is being called out as a felon. Can't wait to hear what breaks on that tomorrow. Yeah, Mountain Ninja. Look, I have my feelings about it. I called out Roger Stone thinks that Byron Donalds is going to be next president. He's absolutely batshit crazy to suggest that. And look, I don't know what the primary is going to bring. I mean, they're saying he's up by 40 points or something like that. Yeah, let's see. And that many people, we'll see what happens. All right, let me play this. Let's continue on.
Do you remember what it was like when the 2020 election was rigged and stolen?
Yep,
do you remember all the bullshit stories people told you about how the fraudulent election would be overturned? Do you remember the symbols of tyranny when fences went up around D.C. for Joe Biden's inauguration? Do you remember watching fuel and food prices skyrocket in a matter of months? Do you remember watching our borders being invaded by a virtual army of unidentified criminals? Do you remember watching our nation get systematically destroyed for 4 years by the Joe Biden autopen administration?
Super D, you're right. Bring in the draft. They will wake the fuck up and vote for America. That's interesting. Exactly. That's exactly the point. You know what? Or you know what? You're going to have to serve in the military for a year or two, like they do in Israel. Okay? Good luck with that. 40 points, Florida's cooked. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen. Let's continue on.
Remember longing for the days of winning when we had Donald Trump in the White House? Do you remember thinking he was going to die when the bullet aimed at his brain only grazed his ear? Do you remember rejoicing after witnessing the miracle that saved his life? Do you remember celebrating the epic landslide victory in November of 2024? This is what you hoped for. This is what you prayed for. This is what you voted for. So why are you questioning every decision he makes?
Exactly.
Now that he's back in office. God didn't save his life so he could make mistakes. He knows what he's doing. Maybe it's time to shut the fuck up and let him cook. This has been a public service announcement paid for by the Dilly Meme team.
Very good. Very good. Not always on the same page with Dilly and his cohorts, but that was good. Yeah, let him cook. I get it. I think the idea is that a lot of people don't shut the fuck up. They keep pushing a narrative that no one cares. No one cares about Epstein because we all know it's bullshit. No one cares about this because that's bullshit. I mean, the point is that each category, they try to fucking box you in and divide you on some fucking thing about the Iran war. Who gives a fuck? I don't fucking care. Some people just blow it up, move away. All right, let's move on. All right, I'm only cared about this country and stuff. And now I'm worried that this whole Michigan thing that really just was not really about Michigan, okay, and who you're going to send as the next senator. It's about what? Islam versus what? Judaism. That was on the ballot. That was what I was seeing. To me, people have gotten completely batshit crazy and lost their mind. If they were not what? Focused on the issues, focused on this in some way. That's what pisses me off, and that's what I saw last night. A boneless chicken. My boss pulled his monthly donations, concluded Trump versus globalists is just another Dems versus Republicans. I can't prove him wrong. Although I don't see it that way. Well, that's an interesting thought. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's on the table right now, but we're about to see. I mean, Michigan is completely lost. And I feel bad in some way. Let's see how many people come out and vote for a Republican and Mike Rogers in that state that's been captured. Trusty Turnip, thank you for the cookie. What does Fishback have on Donalds? Well, he's got a whistleblower that's going to come out that has revealed information about Byron Donalds. We already know he has bribery charges that were against him. We also know that he was slinging hash or weed back in the day when he was in his 20s. All right. There's a couple other things that I has, but we might find out something new. I don't know what he has. It's interesting to see what he's going to have in some way. Is this going to crash and burn? I don't know. I don't know what the margin is. I mean, they're saying he's up 30, 40 points in the primary. I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. But I think, again, I was making the point that if he does win the primary, all right, and he goes on to the general, are you going to run? Are you going to support a Democrat? That's my point. Again, here we are back to the same, scenario that what's going to happen in Michigan. You have Mike Rogers and this Muslim, okay? This Muslim terrorist, Muslim Brotherhood guy. You going to vote for that guy? No, of course not. At least, most sane people wouldn't. Hogleg, thank you for the can and the cookie. Darla bought a 6-month sear. Wow, thank you so much. She bought a silver tier subscription. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. I'll get the cookie. I never paid close attention to the song "Dirty Laundry." You know what? I'm trying to figure out what that song's about. I don't even know that song. I guess I'm completely out of touch with music and all these other different things. So let's move on. All right, let's get to a couple other stuff. Like I said, I'm moving through about what had taken place yesterday. And I want to cover that because, that's part of the show, the election and everything now. This comes from cynical Publius. 10 things that we are so numb that we are just used to them when instead of every citizen and every news outlet in the nation should be screaming about. Yeah, I agree with this. The Democrat Party is now the party of literal communists. I think they're far worse than that. I think they're not just literal communists, okay? And literal jihadists, as number 2 is here, saying tens of thousands of jihadists just invaded Spain. I think they are working in concert to overthrow this government. They're seditious, traitorous, treacherous communist jihadists. And they're behind the scenes. They're utilizing them in some way to orchestrate an overthrow. Yes, they are. New Jersey has tens of thousands of illegal aliens on its voter rolls. This is not rumor. This is fact. Yes, I said that the other day. We're not really sure how much the rest of the state are like New Jersey, but it's probably worse. I mean, think about it. How many other states are not so dissimilar from what New Jersey's voter rolls are? I don't know. It's probably pretty bad in a lot of areas. Illinois, New York, California, Washington, Oregon. I mean, we don't know. Then how about New Mexico? How about even Texas? How about even Florida? You could say that through all the other states in some way. The mayor of New York City is deliberately driving for-profit grocery stores out of a city so he can have control of the food supply of his citizens. Disgusting. The WNBA is persecuting its best white heterosexual players in sort of a perverse Jane Crow campaign. Wow. That's an interesting thought. The guy who was the architect of the worst public health fiasco in all our lifetimes has a diary where he confirmed that he and the government lied about basically everything, and he's going to get away with it. I'm not sure about that. I don't think so. I like I said, I'm a half full guy, half glass full. I'm not a doomer. I'm not a doomer anyway. I'm pragmatic. All right. I'm practical. But I don't think he's going to get away from it. Not in the sense we think. There's going to be lawsuits, class actions. I think state AGs are going to bring it up. And once you bring up the first one, there might be a domino effect. Now, as for a criminal indictment, I don't know. I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know. But he might have years upon years of lawsuits. Him, the NIH, the government in general, the people that were funding him, many other different things. And when you get him in a discovery sense, and that opens up Pandora's box that he has, let's put it this way, he will be compelled to testify, or they just X him. I mean, someone said in the chat that they just kill him off. And then there goes that problem. I don't think it goes away. It opens up more, I think, avenues. But someone said that in the chat the other day. And I think that's what you got to consider. Tucker Carlson and his pals are determined to hand control of the government over to Democrat communist jihadists in a form of cutting off your nose to spite your face. This is exactly what my show is about today. I truly believe that's what they're trying to do. And that is a very sad state of affairs that we're in right now, because that type of scenario is actually happening. The fact that Abdul, and I said, listen, Abdul's not an American name. You can name your kid after every fucking cheese in America, all right? And that's more American. I'm serious. Colby, Jack, Cheddar. Hell, I know people that have those names. What I'm saying right now, there are more American names in this country, because I don't know what the fuck Abdul means. He said Abdul Rahman. And if you don't like it, you could spit it out and keep your name out of his mouth. Let me tell you, this guy is some arrogant, cocky motherfucker. And he needs to look out, because there are going to be people. Look, the same people are trying to push this bullshit that they tried to kidnap. Remember? Kidnap the governor at the time. Remember all that bullshit that working in concert? They're going to try and do something to this guy and blame it on us. You watch. You watch. Yeah, I'm not a doomer. I'm not. Believe it or not, I'm not a doomer. All right. I just call it like I see it. You know, pushing the panic button 24/7 is not what I do. All right. I try to believe in some way there's a way through this in some way. I know you're laughing at it. I know it's funny because someone else said that to me too. No, I criticize, I bitch and moan, I holler, I scream. I tell you how I would handle it. But yeah, El Sayed was born in Michigan. I understand that. But what I'm saying right now is his ties and socializing with the Intifada, okay, and many other people, Hamas adjacent left marches on in the Democrat establishment and that. Do you understand what Michigan is about? Okay, it's like little Somalia. It's like little Afghanistan. It's pretty ugly. It's sickening there. So I'm going to show you this. The Democrat establishment took another loss on Tuesday. Michigan primary voters rejected the preferred Senate candidate, Haley Stevens, heavily favored. She had a lot of AIPAC money and support. She was pro-Israel. They thought she would come out of this, but I guess not. The favor of Abdul El Sayed, the radical left-wing challenger backed by Hassan Piker, another anti-American, the Turkish-American influencer known for his praising Hamas and Mao Zedong. It's not only a decisive victory by any means, but most observers had expected an El Sayed blowout based on recent polling, which showed him leading by double digits. He led by less than 1 point when Associated Press called the race Wednesday morning. Mallory McMorrow, who dropped out of the race in early July, was on track to get 4% of the vote. El Sayed is a left-wing Senate candidate to defeat the establishment-backed opponents for not having a Nazi tattoo. Though, to be fair, he did not hold a fundraiser with a lesbian trial lawyer who celebrated her grandfather's World War II military service in the German army. He also appeared alongside pro-Hamas cleric who said that the Holocaust has been exaggerated. On Monday, El Sayed joined Piker at a pre-election pool party in Detroit, where they posed playfully with female admirers. The candidate's wife, Sarah Junkenau, was not allowed to show her hair at a mixed-gender public gathering, did not attend. He is the first Democrat to win statewide primary after sharing stage with Piker. He's also used his platform to promote candidates who espouse anti-American views. Malik Kuros, for example, the 29-year-old graduate student who was spotted at El Sayed's election night in Detroit. She is almost certain to win a seat in Congress after beating a 15-term Democrat congresswoman in Colorado. Kuros and Piker were also in the crowd on Tuesday, have both argued that the September 11th terrorist attacks were inevitable and arguably justified response to the U.S. foreign policy. El Sayed's primary win is the clearest sign yet that the Democrat establishment has lost its grip on the party. Voters keep electing candidates who badmouth capitalism or suggesting that all our problems could be solved by ending the U.S. military aid to Israel and curbing the nefarious influence of the Jewish lobby. So again, not just the anti-American sentiment was on the table. That was basically what people are voting on. It was really about, do you want to look at Islam or do you want to look at Judaism? And that was really what this nomination was about. This senatorial, let's just say, primary for the Democrats were about that. That's what it had nothing to do with anything else. Free this, free that. Of course, that's what they want to do. That's what they talk about all the time. But it really had nothing to do with any of that stuff. And the reality, that's a sad state of affairs that we are facing right now, that this discussion, okay, really didn't center around America or the issues that they're dealing with in Michigan. All right, the issues centered on what? Islam and Judaism and Israel. That was it, and that's how people voted. It is absolutely a fucking disgrace. It's disgusting, and I'm going to show you right now what Ted Cruz was talking about today. Ted Cruz had a really great, let's just say, subcommittee hearing, really about this enemy within. They call it I think he said something. I forget the name of the how they labeled it. It was really good. Really good. Darla, Gift to the Cookie. The Dirty Laundry song is about the news. Give Us Dirty Laundry. It's a pretty good song, actually. I think it's a Don Henley song, The Boys in the News. Oh, okay. I got you. Yep. I got you. All right, let's continue on. Yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, Don Henley. Don Henley. I don't know. I'm not an Eagles guy, but I mean, I can't even say I'm a Don Henley fan, but I know this song. So, all right, let's play this right now. I want to show you. This was really good. This discussion that happened today in the subcommittee with Ted Cruz. A counterterrorism expert testified today that Abdul's El Sayad's candidacy for Senate concerns him. He cited El Sayad's ties to Emgaish, which it's a close tie to CARE and his father-in-law's leadership in the roles of mother and brotherhood. This is ugly. This is scary. Let's
Senator
listen to
in
this.
Michigan concern you? Abdul El Sayed's candidacy for senator in Michigan concern you?
Yes, sir, it does.
Why is that?
Will, to begin.
I know it's kind of funny now, Alphabet Omega Pill, because he's Mr. Israel. Ted Cruz, Tel Aviv Ted, you know what I'm saying? It's some way. So it's funny that he's leading this against that. Again, that's the point. Now you're starting to see Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood, CARE, and then Ted Cruz, of course. I don't know what flag he's throwing around. Is it Israel or is it the United States of America? That is funny. That is hilarious. But let's continue on. That he is chairman of this committee. But listen to what this guy, Kyle Schindler, says here.
And with, I look at the connections that his father-in-law, Chakaku Tayyib, has to Brotherhood-linked groups. This includes being the president at one time of CARE Michigan, also his presence on the Islamic Society of North America Founders Committee, which is only for those most exclusively devoted to ISNA and provides significant amounts of funding. There are other known Brotherhood members on that committee. I would also look at El Sayed's ties to a group called Mgage, which purports to be a Muslim sort of get out the vote or candidate recruitment organization, but it has close ties to CARE. It was created by a former CARE member who at one time was on a terror watch list and was also a consultant to convicted terrorist Sami al-Arian.
Do you believe the Islamic Society of North America, or ISNA, is an ongoing part of the Muslim Brotherhood network in the United States?
Yes, sir, I do. There were some HLF documents that reflected hesitation by the Brotherhood that they thought perhaps they were losing control of ISNA at one point, but they appear to have rectified that. As far as I can tell, there are still individuals associated with the Muslim Brotherhood who are in high leadership positions with that organization, and they have never repudiated their ties to the organization.
So he's basically spelling it out that the connections between the newly nominated the newly nomination for the Democrat senator or for the Senate candidate of Michigan, Abdul El Sayad, is connected to Muslim Brotherhood, connected to CARE and many other terrorist organizations. It's not good. It's not pretty. But that's what people that are uneducated, ill-informed, stupid people who think that, oh, I'm going to get free stuff, I'm going to get this, or they let their anger and frustration, their vitriolic, let's just say, seething, get hold of them. I hate Israel so much, so let me fucking vote for a Muslim terrorist who has no problem of killing Christians, okay? For killing me. I just don't get it. I don't understand how people can be that fucking batshit, stupid, ugly, crazy. Because I didn't know if anything was on the table directly for people to vote on, all right, in this Democrat nomination or nominee for the Senate, was anybody really talking about? Was there any pragmatic discussions, practical discussions about anything regarding Michigan, about anything in general out there? If these two competing thoughts are, it's either Islam or fucking Israel and Judaism and stuff, that's it. That's the only thing people saw, and that's the only people voted for. And I hope we can move away from that come November, because this is going to be very unsettling if this guy, because if a lot of people can't vote for Mike Rogers, who is pro-Israel, and you know what? There's a thing there. Maybe you should watch how much AIPAC money is coming from so they don't slam him per se. But look, the argument is, if you voted for Haley Stevens, All right. How can you vote and support this guy, especially if you claim you're a liberal, but you're not so far off the fucking what? You fall off the, the turnip truck. You've completely lost yourself and understanding that who this guy is. And I think more people are going to recognize who this guy is and what he is. And I think there's going to be plenty enough time, especially if there's an October surprise or an October uprising, because more people like myself and many others are going to expose this motherfucker for who he is. All right. Again, I could care less for Israel, but I'm not sitting there going to vote for a fucking terrorist. If I'm in Florida and I got like 7 or 8 guys to vote for in a primary, all right, that's coming up. And yes, Mountain Ninja puts it like this: I don't like anyone that commits crimes and then gets them covered up. That's exactly how I feel. My problem and my frustration about Donald's is that I think he's a bad candidate to support because of all his background noise. All right. That's the key. I don't care what he did in Congress. All right. I mean, honestly, are you saying he's going to be better than DeSantis in some way? Well, DeSantis didn't really have any, criminal background problems. Okay. That's why he was able to move through and win this with the support of President Trump. Now, Donald's may get through the primary. No doubt about it. I don't know by 30 or 40 points, but some of the discussions that are going to come out and are going to expose him could wound him in the general. And these are the things right now. That's why I said there should have been a debate. There should have been discussions to get this out and open and not hide this. And I think that's what they're trying to do to expose him. And remember, Fishback is connected to DeSantis in some way. All right. It's not Jay Collins, the lieutenant governor. That's totally separate. Who I think he's got, and Renner, it's Renner and Jay Collins are like they're 2 and 3. But again, the polls are sus, so I don't trust anything. All right, moving on. Let me show you this. This came out from Anna DeWest. This was pretty good. And I saw this and I'm like, oh, let me play this. Hold on. So she put this out, and I'll read this to you right now. She says, so yet again, we allowed Muslim Brotherhood tied and endorsed to communists to remain on the ballot, and he won. What are we doing? CARE is Muslim Brotherhood. They're Hamas. They bankrolled this man, and now he's won a primary. And none of that would be happening without the complicity of elected officials who seem to get off on the political theater while our country is rapidly being conquered. I couldn't agree more. Listen to him.
Don't back down. We don't back down. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out.
Hear that? We choke them out.
Don't back down.
We don't back down.
We don't back down. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out.
Choke them out. Honestly, I could see a dot that's going to be pointed to him that's going to be glowing. This guy's not going to make it. This guy's not going to make it. He's got problems. He's got real problems. This is a straight up motherfucking terrorist, ladies and gentlemen. It's ugly. I feel bad for Michigan, but be careful what you wish for. You got this. It's not just the complicity of the Democrat Party and many other factions of ignorant and arrogant fools inside Michigan in general thinking this is going to be a great option in some way. Because they had one overarching issue. They could not get past what? Israel. When did it become Israel and AIPAC that was sitting on this scenario? And a lot of people are going to now look at this and say, look, maybe we have to revisit AIPAC and its donations. Maybe this is the problem. If we have AIPAC candidates, all right, and we know we might be losing. We could lose because of that. I thought the dude lost. That dude lost? No, he won. He won. Haley Stevens lost, the incumbent. The point being is that what I'm trying to say is that if these are the things that we're seeing as they're popping up, you have to understand what that means. It means that if AIPAC is going to be on the table, Israel is going to be on the table, then we need to have less of that because that is what leads to this. You get what? Muslim Brotherhood and CARE. You got people that hate Israel so much that they'll vote for a fucking ISIS terrorist. Okay? Detroit is now, it's Muzzy land. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's continue on. There's some more good stuff here. I got a ton more of this. Let's listen to that. I'm going to show you this. All right. So Hassan Piker and also this gentleman here. So Jack puts this out. Holy shit, Democrats are getting played. And an Abdul Saad supporter said voters are stupid in the best way. Now, this has been out on multiple videos. See, they're actually calling the people stupid. They're saying, how could they vote for me? Can you believe they're voting for me in so many ways? It says Abdul and Hassan openly nodded in agreement. Watch this. No one has to decipher what that means. Basically confuse them. Wow. Unbelievable. So they're basically telling you right then and there that, look, the whole thing is bullshit. All right. They want to muddy the waters so bad. They just want to say, look, at the end of the day, it's Israel. It's AIPAC. That's why you vote for me. That's exactly what it is. And everything else doesn't matter because I'm a socialist. I'm a communist. You know, free health care for all, free this, free that, you know, free grocery stores, all this stuff. That's what they're pushing. That's what they're pimping in some way. And even said, they think in some way that you're so stupid that you're not even listening to what I'm saying, that you're more in what? In tune with your anger, your acrimony towards Israel and AIPAC, that you'll just choose me. And you know what? I'll just go, blah, 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 and I'll just blow bubbles. And then I'll win because the fact is my opponent is taking in this money. That's exactly what it was. Crushed two 20-year-old boys. Yeah. I mean, look, that's what's embarrassing here. That's what's ugly here. I think people need to understand how bad the situation has gotten. And look, you can't walk away from this. You can't. This is going to get worse and worse because the more and more this whole thing continues on with this election that is taking place, that's going to happen in a couple of months. I think people should keep their eyes on. Everybody's going to be focused on that because more and more is going to come out about this guy. And I'm going to show you why. Because look, I'm going to show you this right now. So C3 puts it out. Notice a trend. Hassan Piker, parents are from Turkey. Abdul A. Saad, parents are from Egypt. Soran Mandami, parents are from India. Ilan Omar, parents are from Somalia. The left's new leaders have parents who immigrated to who? America, but still hate it. No longer hiding a goal to destroy America and the West. Wow. Pretty sad in some way. That's the situation that we're dealing with. That is exactly what we're dealing with right now. That's the problem we're facing, is that a lot of people are not recognizing. What do you mean? I'm muted? What's muted? Yes, Brett. They're stupid here in Connecticut. That is so true, too. Trustee Turner, both boys died on scene. There was what's going on? Who is muted? What are you talking? No audio. Okay. Jesus fucking Christ. All right, let me see here. I don't know why. It's this whole thing that I'm dealing with right now. Yeah. It's just it's when Brave connects to StreamYard through Google, because I gotta fucking ram it there. I used to have no problem, but now somehow StreamYard has decided that they don't want to utilize Brave. Okay, or Brave's problems in some way. So I'll play this again so you can hear it. Let me know if you can. It's very low though.
People aren't stupid. This politics of no translation is going to be the way forward.
No, for sure.
Money on politics, money in your pocket, Medicare for all. No one has to decipher what the hell that means.
That and also, I just want people to be like,
it's a very low sound. I understand that, but that's how these clips are. A lot of times there's nothing I can do about that. But that's the point that he's suggesting. He's saying right then and there, Medicare for all these things. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to have credentials to understand what we're talking about. You just have to sell them certain things that sound good, that look good. That's the point of the conversation. All right, here's some more of this guy, Abdul. Okay, yeah, I know it was very low volume. I try to get these ones where they have good volume or not, but there's only so much I could do when I play this up and stuff. And then when I hear it and then I play it back, it sounds better than what it really did. So let's play this right now. So you have what the fuck? Michigan U.S. Senate candidate Abdul I can't pronounce it. El Sayed. If you can't say the name, which I can, Abdullah Rahman. Keep the name out of your damn mouth. I'll just call you a fucking terrorist. Okay? I'll call you a third world dirt slop monkey terrorist. How about that? Okay? Mud people. How about that? Remember, we go back to the mud people. Okay, camel jockey. What do you want me to fucking call you? All right. Abdul is not an American name. All right. Again, there are more American names, okay, after cheese than there are with this fucking guy, Abdul. Spare me this bullshit. I'll keep it out of my fucking name. Just call you a fucking terrorist.
All you got to do is look at the odds. You're already watching on TV. Started today. You know, they think that you want to use my whole name against me. Mike, listen, man, if you can't say the name, it's Abdurrahman. Keep the name out your damn mouth.
Look at these people. Yeah.
I'll be happy to give you lessons.
Mud people.
But they understand that the only way that they think they can win is to drag us into the mud, to believe the worst about each other.
See, he even said it. He even said it. He even said it. He's even saying, drag us in the mud. That's what you are. The bottom line is they're clapping. These people are fools. They are completely clueless. They have no idea who this guy is, and they have no problem. Yeah, I don't know what I'm clapping for. I have no idea what I'm saying. It's the biggest fucking, these people are the dumbest people. That's why I'm saying maybe there should be an IQ test for people voting. Maybe people should have an understanding. You should probably get a test before you do vote. And I think the age restrictions, 25 and up. 25 and up. If you have mental disease, maybe if you have certain handicaps, like, you have mental disease, you've been hospitalized, maybe there's certain preconditions and stuff. Purely because anybody can vote. That's the problem. So if we don't start putting guardrails up and provisions in place, okay, I think that we're going to continue on and losing this country because shit like this continues on and it's getting gross. It's getting ugly. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing nonsense like that. The fact that this guy is talking. So I guess right now the Republican Party put this ad out. All right, let me get out of this and put this up, share this with you. This is insane. So the Republican Party put this up. This should be loud enough you'll hear it. So Republican Party just dropped this brutal ad against Michigan Senate candidate Abdul A. Sayad. Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Sayad, the most radical Senate candidate in America. El Sayad pledged to support for the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, a designated foreign terrorist group. He wants to hike taxes on Michigan waitresses, develop delivery drivers, and seniors on Social Security. He joined a sex offender and a murderer to demand the mass release of dangerous prisoners. And when his ally claimed America deserved 9/11, America deserved 9/11, dude, El Sayad refused to disavow it. I'm not here to disavow people's views. El Sayad, too radical, too dangerous, wrong for Michigan. Listen to this. This is great.
Sayed pledged support for the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, a designated foreign terrorist group. He wants to hike taxes on Michigan waitresses, delivery drivers, and seniors on Social Security. He joined a sex offender and a murderer to demand the mass release of dangerous prisoners. And when his ally claimed America deserved 9/11,
America deserved 9/11, dude.
El Sayed refused to disavow it.
I'm not here to disavow people's views.
Abdul El Sayed, too radical, too dangerous, wrong for Michigan.
The allies are launching is already more bitter. All you got to do is look at the odds. You're already watching on TV. Started today. You know, they think that you want to use my whole name against me. Mike, listen, man, if you can't say the name, it's Abdurrahman. Keep the name out your damn mouth. I'll be happy to give you lessons. But they understand that the only way that they think they can win is to drag us into the mud, to believe the worst about each other.
If you woke up this morning thinking we're still California because Wayne County still doesn't have their vote count in, you may be right. Our election system here in Michigan is broken. We're going to do a lot of work between now and November to help get that thing at least back in some semblance of order. First of all, think about it. He just came out a few minutes ago and said that he won the race, so he's declaring victory. This is really about the heart and soul of our country. I have never seen someone so radical, so extreme, get nominated by a political party. And the DSA candidates in the state in two different congressional races look like they're pulling it off as well. The Democrat Party is lost to this hardcore socialist attitude. And I fought terrorism my whole life. I was an FBI special agent, U.S. Army officer, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. I find it shocking that I'm going to go up against a guy who believes America deserved 9/11. That's why this race is so important, Lawrence.
Yeah, he was with Hassan Piker, who had that viewpoint. You know, he may have that viewpoint, but he's very slick. And there's a lot of people that find his message inspirational, even though it's anti-American.
How do you find it inspirational if you're anti-American? That means that what inspires you drives you to hate America, to hate Israel, to choose things that are more important, okay, over to decide that it's okay that I want to go communist, I want to go jihadist. I mean, that really just shows you the impetus about how people are relegated to and how they, let's just say, look at. I'm very uncomfortable with the way I see Michigan in general. Michigan has a problem. I think people in Michigan should start to wake the fuck up and understand that their situation there, and especially in Detroit, especially with what's going on. This is the problem with the third worlders. This is the problem with people from the 14th Amendment, Section 1, Section 5, Section 3. You have all these people, all these different types of people. The parents come over here, they shit out a kid, automatic birthright citizenship. And that's what we're stuck with. Okay. And then they raise them into this anti-American trope. And then they continue on with that narrative. And that's what we're stuck. That's what we're stuck. And then they run for what? The candidacies for governors. They run for congressmen, senators, local. It's sad. It's very sad indeed. And something needs to be done. It's very scary. I don't like the fact that what we're seeing right now is that Michigan right now has a huge problem. They're not recognizing the problem. They're not focused on what's necessary, what's immediate. They're just focused on the vitriol. Okay. They're focused on the rancor. All right. They can't get past themselves about certain things. And they're going to use this to drive this home, to force feed us this communist. Okay. This Muslim terrorist. That's what he is. Forget about all the other stuff, which is a mask. All right. As a Band-Aid in some way. That Bernie Sanders, don't forget, Bernie Sanders helped push this guy over the top. All right. He helped push this guy over the top. They're anti-American. They hate this country, and they're disgusting people. Yeah, they are. All of them. All of them. I don't care who they are. The Democrat Party does not recognize, or it's not that it doesn't recognize their faults, whether they're scared or they have no choice to push them out. And I think they're being directed. Okay, that's my point. I think someone is directing them to this position, all right, so they can get out, all right? I don't know if it's to get out on their own accord or get out with what? Saving face. But they're doing it in some way because they're being told to do this. Thank you, Super D, for the 3 cans. I really appreciate it. Let's continue on. This one is a beaut. The new MSN Now, I don't know why I can't speak, host Chris Jansen. As I was getting on the plane this morning, a guy who was a big fan of MSN Now said to me, I voted for Haley Stevens because of Israel. Listen to this. This is my point that I'm discussing. This is really the striking commentary of what took place last night in Michigan.
Who are looking at this, particularly some Democrats who I've talked to, who are hoping that he will moderate some of his positions. I think one of the key ones to point to that he is not going to, you just heard him talking about Israel. And I want to tell you really quickly, as I was getting on the plane this morning, a guy who was a big fan of MS Now said to me, I'm anxious to see who wins. And I said, oh, did you vote?
First of all, who's a big fan of MS Now? Come on. Again, another retard. Honestly, who's a big fan of any news platform? Okay, I hate all these fucking people, but I'm a big fan of MS Now because I'm brainwashed, I'm MK Ultra, and I like to be force-fed more. Can you jab me more? Can I have more Dr. Fauci? What is wrong with these people? Someone is a fan in MS Now. Yeah, another libtard as she's breaking it down. Listen to this idiot.
And he said, yes, I voted for Haley Stevens. And I said, oh, why? And he said, well, because of Israel. And I don't like the position that Abdullah Sayed has on Israel. And in fact, if he wins, I will be voting for Mike Rogers.
Wow.
And you could not get more far apart, right,
wow.
from 2 candidates than Mike Rogers and even Haley Stevens. But it's going to be interesting to listen to that because this has been a primary conversation within this campaign. A campaign, though, that they clearly are celebrating. They have won. But let's be clear, while this is a victory for progressives, the much tougher fight is still ahead.
And I think a lot of people think, and the only way they're going to win this is they steal. And that's what President Trump is pointing to. He's saying the only way, because Detroit is just as bad as many different areas in LA County, and it's rotten to its core as well. And even though that President Trump has bifurcated certain areas in Detroit and other places in some way, you have to consider what he's saying is that we don't know how far they're willing to go to steal this, to rob this in some way, like they did, as like he's saying, he's suggesting that they stole this from Haley Stevens in some way. It was a very close vote. You know, it was like, what, 24,000 votes that were separating the two, 20,000 votes separating the two. And he's like, that's all they needed. They didn't want to make it bigger than what it is. They want to put themselves on there. Yeah, progressive, socialists, Islamists. It really doesn't. I don't know if we need to actually paint a picture of the vernacular or the lexicon to describe what these people are in some way. I just call them terrorists. I mean, that's the way I'm starting to look at all these now, because anybody that's allowing these people to get to these positions in some way, it's almost like they want to lose. They're taking a step back. Go ahead and beat me so you could be moved in this position. It's like, well, I tried my hardest and even though I knew cheating was going on, I didn't go and contest it in some way, because someone is driving all this. They're orchestrating all these people, these communist jihadists or whatever, terrorists I call them, to move them into positions of power inside our government to overthrow our government. And yes, we're going to see this come, I think, October. That's hence the name Red October, why everybody's talking about it. Okay. Let's continue on. So I got more here. Yeah, there's just so much more of this stuff that is just out there. Let me show you this. So many. I got a lot of videos, but I got more stuff I want to show you that I think it's impactful to see who this guy is. A lot of people are like, who is this guy? What is this guy? What's going on here? I think a lot of people are just, I don't know if they were caught blindsided or they were completely surprised about this in some way. Let's play this right now. So just run the loop on nationally. Look at this.
Going to beat when we win this race. How are you going to beat Mike Rogers and their
That's Michigan.
Money? I want you to remind them that if we come through this, when we come through this, inshallah, that when we win this race,
inshallah,
how are you going to beat Mike Rogers and their money? I want you to remind them that if we come through this, when we come through this, inshallah, that when we win.
Yeah, you know why? Because I think in October, they're going to be dispatching their army of people, because they think that in some way they don't have a shot at this. They know they're going to get. They know they're going to get pounded. They know in some way people are going to be watching the voter rolls. They're going to be watching the election in general. And so they're going to do everything they can to overturn this. They're going to find some way to cause a lot of problems and chaos in this situation. I think so. I think a lot of people are overlooking this. I'm going to show you this. So John Fetterman, let's listen to Fetterman. Fetterman's on CNN. Okay, with Wolf Blitzer. Wolf. And listen to what he says there. I mean, in some way, he's making absolute sense here. And what he's suggesting is that their own party is purposely stabbing themselves in the back. They're actually trying to kill themselves, crush them. They're trying to suicide themselves into submission because of this, because of Israel, because of AIPAC, all this different stuff. Listen to how he puts this.
In this key battleground state of Michigan.
Well, I think it definitely puts the seat in play. Michigan typically doesn't really elect a Republican in the Senate for a while. And now Rogers was a very strong candidate, objectively. He barely lost to Slotkin, and she's a very strong candidate, and she just barely won back then. So now, if you've seen some of the polling, El Sayed is under maybe 5 to 6 points or more against him. And now some real money is going to flood into that state. And a lot of the things that he has done and said during the primary, we're going to come back to haunt, like campaigning with a guy that loves Hamas and is very proud to stand with communist regimes.
So you're talking about Hassan Piker.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Who was out there with El Sayed on the campaign trail. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to find out what he really thinks. Is he still going to campaign with a guy that proud to love Hamas? We'll see. Are you going to campaign with a guy that openly loved Mao and even dresses like him too?
So what he's saying, he's talking about Hassan Piker. Is this guy Abdul al-Sayed, Mohammed al-Sayed, is he going around with Hassan Piker and campaign in some way when he knows full well that everything he's saying is antithetical to what he is preaching? It's anti-American, it's pro-communist, and you're going to use him so you could beat Mike Rogers. Good luck with that, how that's going to go. It's funny. Yeah, I see the clone is actually, he's been wearing a suit a lot lately, Casey Snowman. He really has. And you know what? I've noticed a lot of interviews. He's not walking around in some way dressing like a he had a thing he was addressing. They were calling him, I guess they were calling him ugly and stuff. He goes, yeah, I have a mirror. I know I'm ugly. I get it. And then, but he goes, at least I'm not a communist. And then he goes through, I'm not a terrorist. He was saying all this crazy stuff, but it's fantastic. Look, I'm not on the Fetterman train in some way, but he's calling out how people can be so batshit crazy, upside down. They have completely lost their mind. President Trump is celebrating this because he thinks that in some way that, look, this whole situation that has taken place, this is a good thing, and this will generally comport well for Mike Rogers. And I think so too. You'll probably see a lot of people that voted for Haley Stevens vote for Mike Rogers in the end. I think so. Only because of the Israel thing will be a stalking horse in some way. You'll start to see the divide and conquer. A lot of people will come out and say, I'm against Islam. You're going to see that on the table. And they're going to ride this home all the way. So that's really going to be on the agenda. And that's the unfortunate thing. All right, let's move on. I got a couple other things here. Let me share with you. All right. So there's a couple other things here I want to share. I want to get into President Trump's pick. He had in the 8th district in Michigan, I believe it was in the 8th district, he picked this guy, Amir Hassan. Okay. And this guy got, let's just say he got rolled. He got rolled hard. So Trump endorses the seal of gold for this election cycle until last night. I think President Trump was 24-1. And reporting shows Michigan 8 Republican voters were not happy with Trump's endorsement of Amir Hassan, who many believe was a Muslim. See, there you go. There's the thing. All right. The irony is he's a Christian. In June, Thomas Smith dropped out of the GOP primary after Trump endorsed Amir Hassan, but Smith remained on the ballot. Last night, Michigan voters elected him anyway. Smith has accepted the nomination. So if you look at the dichotomy that I'm expressing here, okay, look at the Republicans now in Michigan, or the people that voted for this guy, Thomas Smith, who dropped out but accepted the nomination because they had fear that they were going to elect or put someone by the name of Amir Hassan, who happened not to be a Muslim, but was a Christian. They were fearful of that. And I believe that is the blowback of what El-Assad brings into the party of voters inside Michigan. And I believe they were concerned about this. And a lot of people who generated this pick in some ways, they voted for who? They voted for Thomas Smith. What an American name. Last name Smith, first name Tom. I mean, that's hilarious in some way. As I said, there are more American names, okay, based off of what? Cheese. You got Colby, you got Jack, you got Cheddar. Those are all names. There are many other names, okay, that you could think of that you could name your kids. What I'm saying is that this representation right now, people are very fearful of what's going on. They know what's happening in Dearborn. They know what's happening in parts of the country, and they don't want someone who pretends to be something that they're not. So let's listen to this. Let's play this.
Born and raised in Flint, Michigan, the birthplace of General Motors. Son of a father, a grandfather, a grandmother, an aunt, an uncle that all work for General Motors. Son of an educator. Protecting America, getting back to the fundamentals and the foundation that made us great in the beginning.
See that?
That's what we're doing this cycle. The contrast is clear. The time is now. If you love America, make noise. If you believe in first responders, make some noise. If you back our military, make some noise. And if you're proud to be a conservative,
see, the very thought of looking at how these people were responding to underneath here when I was showing you how they were responding to him, the very thought they thought he was a Muslim. All right. I don't know if he's not or was, but people are very critical and fearful of that. They don't want Muslims, okay, as congressmen or senators. They don't want them in our government. And people are like, no, it's basically, this is a sticking point. And I think that this is representational of what we're going to face. We're going to face the ultimate battle. We're going to have the Crusades 2.0, and it's going to come to America, and we're going to have it. We're going to have it out once and for all. I think people are tired of it. People are disgusted of it. And we know where we're going. We know where this leads. And I think that where it portends. And maybe President Trump should have listened, or maybe he purposely picked him for a reason, all right, because he knew that many people weren't. And so the guy that dropped out, who had the had the American name, Thomas Smith, seems to be the likely guy. And that is basically, that just demonstrates what Michigan is up against, what we're all facing in this country, what we're fearful of. We don't know who these people are behind the scenes. And that's what you have to consider. You don't know who these people are behind the scenes, but that was a very striking tell. And that was one of the ones, I think President won, it was 16-1, 23-1. I'm not really sure on how that goes. Let me say hello to a couple of people out there. Thank you, Super D, for the cans, Darla for the cookie. The Dirty Laundry song is about the news. Yes, I got you. Super D for the cookie, and Holiday 71 for the cookie again. All right, let's continue on. Let's move on. More to go. We got time. All right, let's play one more thing here. All right, let's see. Okay, let's move on. Let's get to some of the stuff that's happening in the Senate or with the Senate that people were discussing. I think a lot of people saw senators trying to question the veracity of people that were conducting these polls or whatever. They're suggesting in some way that the states, the states in some way are not rigged, and none of these voter rolls are, and they're trying to push this onto the American electorate in some way. And so this guy goes before, talks about Medicaid, Medicare, voter rolls, and all this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with everything. Everything is fine.
Do you think we ought to put people in jail for cheating? Do you think we ought to put people in jail for cheating?
Senator, I do not believe states are cheating.
You don't believe that?
I do not believe that.
If they were cheating,
so there's no cheating in Medicare or anything.
Parachute in from, sir. You don't
I've worked on this. I've worked on this program for a long time.
But I'm be sure
it's not
understand.
perfect,
You don't believe
states do not.
You don't
cheat.
believe states are cheating.
I do not believe states are
Do
cheating.
you believe in the tooth fairies, sir? Do you believe in the Easter Bunny?
Look, he's pissed.
Do you believe that Jimmy Hoffa died of natural causes? You're not answering.
I do not believe states are cheating in their administration of the Medicaid program.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm glad you have some water in front of you because your pants are on fire.
I mean, that's just great. Basically, he's calling him out. He's saying, dude, you're a fucking straight up bullshit artist, you know? And everything that you're saying right now in this testimony is a straight up lie. There was more of that, and they were discussing. Here's Senator Marino. I'm going to cover this in a second. He had some, man, this guy is coming out like fire these days. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people are noticing certain people, and I don't know what it is. I know Marino's got some problems with his daughter, married to Max Miller, and all this other craziness that's going on. I don't know. We'll probably cover some of that if I have time, but I want to show you this. So Senator Marino, he just went nuclear in a Senate hearing. Georgetown professor calmly says illegal immigrants should get free taxpayer. See, this is the problem. This is where it is. This is why I was saying to you the other day that we should not just focus on the worst of the worst. Okay, you have to go after all these people that have been here for 20 years or longer. You have to dug in like ticks, like parasites, like what? They're leeches, and this is the problem. And all we do is what? Subsidize a welfare state off our own tax dollar. That's why we're taxed to the hilt in so many different areas to what? Pay for these people. And these people have no right for health. Listen, if you're an illegal, you have no right for health care. I'm sorry. You have no right. I don't want to pay for it. Let the state pick up the tab. But what does the state do? Ends up charging us. That's why healthcare is through the roof, because these people don't have any money to pay for healthcare. These people don't have money to have insurance. So what happens is they get a bill. They don't care. They don't care if their credit's shot. They don't even have credit. A lot of them just don't give a fuck. And that's the problem. We are burdened We are burdened by, and it continues on. I say let them fucking die in the street. I am sick and tired of anybody telling me, well, it's suicidal empathy. I'm tired of what? Subsidizing a welfare state to pay for what? The scum while they fucking what? Get loaded up, okay? And they fucking drive in the car and they run a family over. How about that? They don't fucking care because they had 10 Coronas. A lot of these people are all over the place. They get away with murder. And the pushback that we give about illegals, we get criminalized in some way. We get attacked because that's not how we should be. There's no empathy coming from them. Okay? I hate all these fucking people. Fuck them and die. And you know what? The hospital should tell them, no healthcare, just like you. No healthcare, no insurance and stuff like that. I know there's laws that they have to, but maybe we should start changing the laws. If you can't bill them in any way, and they're not going to pay, then you should refuse them. It should be so, like the rest of us. They're not going to pay. We're going to get stuck with that bill. They don't care if they got 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. They're never going to pay. They don't have credit. It's gross.
In this country without permission, should they be allowed to get health care on the backs of the American taxpayer? Yes or no?
My own view is if people need health care, they should receive it.
So you think that somebody who is here illegally should have their health care paid for by the American taxpayer?
So we have a law in this country.
No, I'm just asking you. That's a simple yes or no question. Somebody's in this country.
I agree with
somebody's. Let me just restate it. So
yes, if they need emergency care, yes.
So the taxpayer of the United States of America should pay for the health care of people who broke into this country illegally.
That's what Congress decided in 1980.
No. Congress never decided. No, what Congress you're talking about. If you needed emergency health care and you went to any other country on earth, would you get it for free?
Nope.
Well, the countries that I've gone to, yes.
You get healthcare for free if you went into so for example, let's take Spain, which has incredibly difficult visa standards. If you went to Spain and needed heart surgery, you think the Spanish government would give it to you gratis?
I can't speak to Spain.
But do you think but it's interesting. I wonder if my Democrat colleagues would agree with that. That if people who broke into this country illegally should get healthcare. Mr. Snyder, if somebody broke into your home, would you make them dinner?
No, I would not.
Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't you?
Look at this guy's reaction.
They need help. What if they're starving? What if somebody broke into your home who's hungry? Would you not feed them? Or would you call the police and get them the heck out of the house?
If somebody was hungry and needed to be fed, I would feed them.
So if somebody broke into your house, you will feed them. Don't give anybody your address.
So
whatever you do, I'm asking you just for your own personal sake, do not release your address.
This guy, this guy up here was such bullshit. It is such bullshit, Super D. It was embarrassing hearing a guy that's so full of shit lying to them completely. But the Medicaid rolls, that the states aren't ripping people off. They're not putting people on the voter rolls. Oh, we can't track and trace. But yeah, we have all these people in this country that are sucking off the tit, that we're subsidizing them. And you know what? They get injured. We have to pay for them because the hospitals are forced to take them in some ways. That wasn't the plan in place. So that's why our healthcare costs are through the roof. Senor Polo, gift to the can. Mexico makes you prepay for healthcare. There you go. That's what I think Marino was trying to say, that there are many countries that will do the same thing, that they will force you into this in some way. And if you're not able to do it, they're like, we're not going to cover it. You don't think they will turn you away? Of course they will. All right. These people have no credit. They don't care. There's not like in their mind where they come from, they're thinking of credit. All right. They have no credit. We live off of credit here. All right. They don't. That's why the system is faulty. It's garbage. And that's why the way they balance this out between credit cards and insurance payments and all this other stuff is based on this. It's a continuation of this nonsense. And that's where we are, the credit scores and all these things. Who gets what based upon that? See, that's a joke too. But if we didn't have these people, all right, who didn't have insurance, who can't afford to pay for this, don't have a residency or an address, they're just floaters, Well, then how are you going to take him to the hospital? How are you going to go and how is a doctor, all right, going to charge you? I mean, how are they going to get paid? It's a crime in itself. And the fact is that we sit back and like, well, you know, you really can't do anything about it. So, yes, we can. That's the number one reason why you shouldn't be in this country. You're not a citizen. There is nothing here that's afforded to you. Everything is closed. But like he said, they have no problem breaking in the back door. But that's what they did. And what happens when you break into someone's house? You get shot! Or at least you should. Multiple times in the face with a blaster. Yeah, that's what happens. The problem with the illegal criminal alien scum in the country is not just all the crime and all these other things. It's the fraud, it's the welfare, it's the abuse, it's what they do to our system. The system is not sustainable because we can no longer afford it. And we can't just keep putting it back onto the American citizens for us to continue to pay for in the back end. It doesn't work. It never worked. And the problem is that some people think it's okay. You know, for some people, it's like, well, it's the just thing and the right thing to do. What? For who? We can't even take care of our own people in this country, let alone the veterans and all the problems we have with the VA. Doug Collins, he's almost out the fucking door. That guy, man, I don't know what his fucking problem is, but, you know, the idea that if we can't even take care of the people, we have homeless everywhere. We can't take care of the people in our own country, but yet you want to, in some way, continue to subsidize and allow these people to have, what, free healthcare or free this and stuff. There's nothing free. I mean, the idea that that people think like, oh, well, it's just reshuffled around. It goes to what? All right, here's some more of the terrorist crap that's out there. I want to show you this. I want to share this because to me, this is really scary stuff. And I think that we should be concerned. I think something's going to take place in October. I really do. And when we start to hear about how these people are just like the machinations and they're like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. Well, here we go. This comes from Bill Mitchell. War without guns, no bombs, no armies. They take over the schools, the mosques, the charities, the local police, politics, one seat at a time. And nobody in Washington wants to say it out loud. France said it. Interior Minister Bruno Ritali put out a 73-page report on the Muslim Brotherhood in May of 2025. Let's listen to this.
700 years of our trial to conquer Europe by force failed. They did something wrong, very wrong. They tried for many years to conquer Europe through wars, only wars.
This is the soft Islamic conquest of the West. Basically, what the Islamic and again, I'm an Orthodox Muslim. What we couldn't do in the last, say, 20 years, now the West is doing it for us for free and even paying for it.
Allah permitted them to live off the infidel while they are subduing them. So it had sort of a parasitic type of attitude where they can live off of the host country, where their goal is to eventually eradicate the host culture and supplant it with Islam.
There you go. The parasitical problem we face, the dilemma that's in this country is not just the illegal criminal alien scum. It's the Muslims, okay? It's these different sects of people that come over here. They shit out a couple of kids. They automatically get citizenship. And bingo, bongo, bango, they start to want to what? Tear down our Constitution, start changing our religion, add Sharia law, start doing all this stuff. Yeah, like, you know, it's like it's not a big deal. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Like you have I saw Home Depot has the signs on it in Muslim and Islam. I'm like, well, what the fuck kind of crap is this? I mean, it's gross. Listen to Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder puts out a good point regarding what's taking place in Michigan. This is an alarm bell, ladies and gentlemen. You have to consider what is taking place right now is an alarm bell. People are waking up and realizing we have a serious problem on our shores or inside our shores. And you have to consider what that is. And here he puts it out here. He says this. I'll play Steven Crowder right now. Let me play this right now. Steven Crowder this guy wants to defund the police, wants Sharia law, supports decarceration, wants to abolish ICE, supports total amnesty. Let's listen to what he says here.
to decarceration, means let everyone out of prison, Arkham Asylum. He wants to abolish ICE. And of course, he wants complete and total amnesty, basically a new voting bloc. Michigan would forever be blue. They would not be in play whatsoever. He wants but here's the thing. People go, yeah, but also at least we're not being distracted by left, right. It's about the elites. He wants Medicare for all. You see that on the Marxist right. He says Medicare should be automatic for everyone and accepted everywhere. By the way, that includes for all illegal aliens, because he would be ending ICE, he would be ending deportation, he would grant them all amnesty. So it's socialized healthcare for criminals. And then he proposes a billionaire wealth tax. So the problem is all this other stuff, people go, I don't really care about that. People say that's bread and circuses, deportations, ICE, closing the border, H-1Bs. What are they going to do for me? That's where the Democrats can win if that is your mindset, if that is your only messaging, if that pseudo-populism is your messaging, because they go, we're going to tax billionaires and we're going to give people more free health care. That's exactly how we ended up with USAID. That's exactly how we ended up with the hundreds of trillions of dollars in fraud and no work requirements and Coca-Cola on SNAP. Let me ask you this. This guy's for you. That's what he wants to say. Do you believe that he would oppose Coca-Cola on SNAP? Do you believe that he would require 80 work hours per month, for example, Medicaid, for unemployment benefits? Of course not. Well, how is he for you? You're the one who has to pay for that. He's for the people whose votes he can buy. Despite all this, defunding the police, amnesty, abolishing ICE, letting people out of prisons, he insists, no, he's not a socialist. That's a bad word.
It's a good point. I mean, he's basically covering his bases here. He's basically saying, look, the bottom line is that he's lying to you on so many different ways. All right. He wants other people to pay for this, but that's how they get they get to scam you. He doesn't tell you how it's going to be paid for. He doesn't tell you how the sausage is made. He just wants to let you know that everybody's going to get a piece of the pie. It's going to be free. You're not going to have to pay for it. And don't worry about it. It's all going to be fine. See, that is selling you the holy grail of bullshit. And that's the problem. And people buy this shit up left and right. They eat this stuff up like it's nothing. It's like, yeah, this is fantastic. I love it. I'm gonna get what? Free French fries. Yeah, with my vax. I'm gonna get free this with my vax. I'm gonna get free that. Free healthcare. Free healthcare. Yeah. What type of healthcare do you think you're gonna get? All right. See, that's the problem. That's the problem they don't think about. They think about, well, what kind of plan is it? No, it's Medicare for everybody. It means someone else pays for it. It's all going to be covered. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't need to worry about any of these things. See, that's how they sell that shit. That's what they are. You want to know what a real Marxist socialist is? What they sell when they want to take away your what? Your holidays. Your holidays. How about that? My favorite holiday of the year is what? Next to July 4th, it's Thanksgiving. Okay? And this broad wants to take away my Thanksgiving. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. You ain't going to be walking down Macy's, okay, during that parade, okay? You're going to be the float up there that everybody's going to be like, hey, remember that? Well, now we're just going to carry her along as a balloon because that's what you are. You're a cartoon. You're an embarrassment. But this broad right here, should Thanksgiving be canceled? Socialist candidate can't give a CNN. I'm not going to play it. But the point being is she's like, her answer is, in the end, she never gave an actual yes or no. Because again, Thanksgiving, just like Columbus Day, well, that's not good. We can't have a day like that in some way. We can't represent European colonies and indigenous people that just basically got whatever. It's embarrassing that they talk like this in so many different ways. But she didn't give it a reason. And this is what happens when you start to elect these people and put these people in power. All right. Because now they want to start removing what? Next thing you know, it'll be Christmas. Next thing you know, New Year's Eve. They start to trickle this down. Well, we gave you free health care. As Crowder was saying, we gave you free this, we gave you free that. Well, in turn, we want to take away what? Certain constitutional rights. We don't want to start taking away your holidays, your religious freedoms. Oh, by the way, the Second Amendment. Well, in order for you to have health care, we got to pull that back too. See, they always want something in the end in exchange for what they want to supplement, okay? Because you're a sucker and you think that in some way, well, it's a tit for tat. Well, if I get a lot of this, that's positive, all right? And I don't have to work. I get free health care. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. But I have to give up certain things. Wait a minute. I got to give up my guns. I got to give up this. I got to give up that. Oh, the next thing you know, they're going to be forcing you to go to a mosque once a week. These people will not stop. It's a never surrender with them. they will force you into submission, because once they're dangling this little fucking carrot in front of your face and saying, hey, look, all right, this is what you're going to get. All right. Now, if you don't accept it, well, I'm going to show you what the alternative is. But see, they don't do that right away. They only do that after you take what they are offering. And then after what they take that they're selling, that you buy into, then that's when they start to pull back the carrot and say, all right, you see this carrot? Well, now it's going to be half of what you got. Because you know why? You're going to have certain provisions. And those provisions are what? You're going to have to surrender those. And that's what it always starts with. That's what it always ends with. And you know what? At the end, it ends with your life. That's what they do. Thank you, Trump One, for the cookie. Let's continue on. All right, I got to get to the enemy from within. I got to cover that. That's part of the show tonight. And that's really in regards to what I was saying today with the earlier greeting that we were discussing today of what happened with John Solomon's reporting, which was really good, and how that information broke about what they did with Russia collusion and how they moved on to many other different things. Let's see. Okay, so I'll just show you this. So this was what happened. This is the guy apparently that was arrested. I'm not gonna. There's no video or anything, so we'll just not play it. But apparently, this guy, another would-be assassin. So I guess on Saturday, August 2nd, plainclothes federal agents spotted a 30-year-old Janine John Teal. Wow. Downey walking the grounds of the Trump National Golf Course in Rancho Palos Verdes, taking photos and videos appearing to monitor security planning activity ahead of President Trump's Tuesday RNC rally. LASD deputies, that's sheriff deputies, detained him, and he was already under investigation for robbery in El Segundo Police Department. On his person, a 16-round magazine loaded with hollow point ammo. In his vehicle parked at the club, loaded pistol with a round chambered, another loaded magazine with hollow point ammo. He was arrested for carrying a concealed firearm and possession of what? A prohibited armor-piercing ammunition. Monday, detectives from the Sheriff's Major Crime Bureau, assigned to the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, searched Downey's home and recovered an illegally modified AR platform rifle, a 1911 45 caliber pistol, an AR upper receiver, body armor, high-capacity magazines, bulk pistol and rifle ammunition, 2 radio signal devices, multiple notebooks with concerning statements. FBI Joint Task Force and Secret Service are involved. Wow. That's, and the guy's name is Janine. Honestly, is this guy a tranny? I mean, honestly, what are we to make of this? There's not enough information about this. I know there was a couple of other articles that they were showing, but I just wanted to lay it out for you. Let's get into other stuff. Let's see. Let's get out of that. All right, so I'm going to put this up. So this really gets into what we're going to talk about right now. I think this is big breaking news. This was today. This was massively breaking news, and a lot of people were blown away about what's being reported here. Darla, gifted the cookie. We're living in the movie Lord of the Flies. They fly in and deposit the maggots. It's gross, isn't it? It's gross. It's sickening. That movie, it always stuck with me. After I remember reading that Lord of the Flies, what was in, I forget what grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. I remember reading it. Oh man, I remember the movie too. Pretty dark and gruesome movie, understanding, but that's where we're headed for. So breaking, declassified FBI files reveal what agents quietly suspected after the President Trump fired James Comey. 9 years, here, I'll blow this up a little bit more so you guys can see it. So 9 years after President Trump fired James Comey, the FBI's own declassified files have revealed what happened inside the Bureau almost immediately afterward. Agents went far beyond examining whether the firing obstructed an existing investigation. They opened sensitive full investigation into whether the sitting president was acting for Russia. Wow. And the case was named Oxford, comma. The opening document was dated May 16, 2017, 1 week after Comey's dismissal, and approved by then FBI General Counsel James Baker, who now works for Twitter, X, and Counterintelligence Division Chief E.W. Priestap. And news of the declassification broke this Wednesday. Holy crap, the White House just declassified the bombshell files, finding the deep state agents possibly committed criminal conspiracy to violate President Trump's civil liberties, per John Sullivan. This is huge. Let's continue on. I think there's a video. Let's see if it's going to play. No, I don't think it is. Okay. I think there is a video. I'll play it in a little bit. It says the FBI's opening communication identifies the case as a Foreign Agents Register Act matter involving Russia and marks a sensitive investigative matter. It records a full investigation was initiated the 17th. The Bureau said in its articulable factual basis to investigate whether President Trump had been involved knowingly or unknowingly in activities on behalf of the Russian government that could violate federal law. The stage goal went further. Investigators sought to determine whether President Trump was directed by or controlled by Russia or had coordinated activities with Moscow. They also set out to examine whether the president's unnamed others had obstructed or conspired to obstruct an FBI investigation. Let's see if there's, let's see if this will come up. Let's see if this will play. Okay. No, that's not going to play. I got more of that. Okay. Oh, what happened? What happened? All right, we got to get out of that. I'm going to get back into this. All right, so let's get back into this. So what they're saying here is that, so they open an investigation. They use this to continue on. The Bureau said it had a factual basis to move forward with this. Then the stated goal went further. All right, it went further. Investigators sought to determine whether Trump was directed or controlled. They also set out to examine whether the president or unnamed others had obstructed or conspired to obstruct FBI officials. McCabe's brief Rosenstein that day, the FBI's notification had shown that this was not an isolated theory floating around the office. At approximately 12:30 on May 16, acting FBI Director McCabe personally notified Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and the Bureau and opened this Oxford comma. The memo, you see how it's written in some way. The memo says in person. The reason why it was written that way is so that it would fool the FOIA request and the algorithm searches. So the recorded dated 17th, but memorializes the briefing from the previous day. It carries the same Oxford comma case identifier. Its synopsis is blunt. The document, the Justice Department notification, in other words, the Bureau created a former paper trail showing that one of the highest ranking officials at the FBI had taken newly open investigation directly to the Deputy Attorney General. The next day, Rosenstein appointed Robert Mueller as special counsel. The case file therefore places a remarkable sequence on paper as Oxford, comma, open on the 16th, and McCabe briefed Rosenstein the next day. Let me just show you let me just go into it a couple of things in some way. These are some of the things that I picked up. The realization of the gist of this is that when President Trump fired James Comey, the FBI opened up the sensitive probe asking if he did it as a Russian asset or an obstructor. McCabe then tells the deputy director, Rosenstein, Mueller appointed the next day. The matter absorbed into Mueller's work and later closed without the cone or the core of suspicion being sustained. The declassification puts the contemporaneous FBI theory and paper trail in public view. All right. The files themselves document what the FBI formally wrote and did. They do not themselves prove a criminal conspiracy by the agents involved. That would what? Require separate evidence or an agreement and intent. The civil liberties and institutional accountability questions investigating a sitting president this way, based on the exercise of a removal authority, are now more visible because the paperwork is public. I think that's really the gist of what you need to understand here. And it shows you that the case was folded into Mueller's investigation. It was administratively closed in April 8th and 9th, 2019, after Mueller's report, with no finding that Trump and his campaign. So ultimately, they knew that there was nothing there. And they were using this. Again, this was another reason that they were going after President Trump to hurt him, to wound him, to injure him, all right, and to help set up what? And promulgate an impeachment, which they did. They had to. But the other point is what? To sell this narrative, to end this at this time, and to assure themselves in some way that they thought that they can hurt President Trump in the 2020 stolen election. And they realized that, hey, look, maybe this is not going to work. All right. He's even more powerful. He's more popular. And so they released COVID and many other things that they did. But they tried to take him down while he's in his first term. And they tried to wound him and injure him in so many different ways that, look, that the fallout, that he couldn't get work done, which he had an historic first term. But the case, they tried to prove the case was open to a sensitive full investigation. The senior FBI officials approved it. McCain notified Rosenstein. So the reason why they went through this process was to what? Do everything they can to put this in a special let's just say, indictment or a special counsel in some way, so they can wring this out and politically assassinate the president in such a way that this would undercut his next term. And I believe so. And I believe that it wasn't just that. They knew they didn't have the goods on him. But when Mueller walked away with nothing, and basically they tried to whitewash this all away simultaneously. And this is what is now coming out. Now you're starting to see how they put this out. And what they did was they hid this in so many different ways from FOIA, from the requests from people looking into this. And so you were not able to understand or see what they did. And I think that's the big thing. Here, I'll show you. Here comes from the Skiff. This is a good one right here. This shows you right now that the Trump White House declassifies documents proving the FBI targeted Trump and violated his civil rights in 2007, accusing him of being a Russian agent. James Comey's fired specifically started the Oxford comma investigation on Trump, and this was the retaliation part of a grand conspiracy against Trump. And they're going to use this as evidence. That's the whole point. They were hiding this in case they were trying to find in some way to lose this evidence and try to hide this, to obfuscate from the law, to make sure that no one was going to see if there was ever an opportunity, what there is right now, for a grand conspiracy, and for them to what? Go after them so they can be held liable and accountable and answerable. That's the bottom line. And here it is right now. Brian Cates puts this out. This is really good. He goes, while the FBI was using allegations from the Steele dossier at the FISA court to get surveillance warrants of the Trump campaign in 16 and renewing those warrants for 17, the FBI was pretending they didn't know who Steele's primary subsource was for the Trump-Russia collusion. The FBI deliberately did not try to track down Igor Danchenko and interview him until January of 2017, even though they knew Danchenko was a suspected Russian agent. They actually had an open case against the guy when he fled the U.S. back in 2012. Swear to God, I'm not making this up. And here it is. It's all being documented here. This is about the Carter page. The timeline is important. And Technophile puts this out. He says the opening an FBI intel criminal investigation into President Trump, it relied on what? In large part, disputed gossip of Russia assistance. Remember this whole thing with Carter Page? Well, the FBI confidential human source, Stefan Helper, spent several months setting up meetings with the Trump campaign personnel, such as Carter Page and George Papadopoulos, to surreptitiously record them making incriminating statements to begin in spring of 16, which would start the ball rolling. I don't think anybody, I'm going to drop this in the chat. This one was a good one from Brian Cates, and you guys can look and see yourself what they did. And this ongoing, never-ending, unrelenting investigation, and now the grand conspiracy. Now, Joe DeGeneva in Florida right now has evidence that they can utilize to go after Comey, Brennan. And we know that, right, that we're hearing that John Thune and Tom Cotton are holding information back from what John Brennan did to testify in a closed door hearing with the Senate, okay, with the Oversight Committee or with the I forget what committee it was, but Tom Cotton's committee. But the point is, the Homeland or what have you. The point is they're still hiding evidence, and right now this falls at the doorstep of the Attorney General. Now, will the new Attorney General, who's about to be sworn in, will he be able to push this ball rolling a lot further? We'll see where that goes. You guys could look at that. That was an excellent discussion by Brian Cates. All right, let's get out of that. Get into one more thing. I think, so we heard about what's going on with President Trump this weekend, pulled back the reins from an actual attack that was going to really do more damage, maybe. Or was the whole thing going to Camp David a distraction, a divertisement? Was it a mole hunt in some way to, let's just say, uproot and out the leaker or leakers or said leakers? Let me show you this. Okay, this came out today. Let me play this. Make sure you have sound. It's just a pain in the ass. That's all. Let me just play this. Okay, so this came out, and here we are right now discussing this.
And when you're looking at a situation in the region, as the Middle East waits to see if a deal will be reached or we'll see a return to war.
So Trey, real quickly, the president talked about the military operation that was leaked over the weekend. It's obviously, they need to figure out who's leaking from the White House. That has to be someone high within government that put that out there to sources. It's our job as the press to cover that. But I'm curious from your perspective and your sources on the state of play that league played out in the Middle East, and who then phoned the White House to get to the negotiating table.
It's a great question because these leaks can be substantial. And when you're looking at a situation with 50,000 U.S. service members, destroyers, refuelers, fighter jets across the region, the operational security is very significant whenever there are plans being made to strike Iran. And the president indicated he called off the planned strikes at the request not only of Iran, but also of Gulf allies like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. What was interesting, though, Lawrence, we spoke with senior Israeli intelligence officials over the weekend who said they weren't even aware of the details of the plan. And that's how close the administration was holding these details to the chest because of how sensitive it is in the region. And so moving forward, we do anticipate the Trump administration will do everything possible to ensure that they're not giving Iran a heads up. They want to keep the Iranians guessing as these diplomatic pathways play out, understanding that if the talks fail, we are likely looking at a return to combat.
So who do you think was leaking? That's the key. Who do you think was leaking? Let me know in the chat. How do you think this went down? Were they planning this? They were setting this up in some way? Do they think it was someone in the media? Was it someone in the Defense Department? If there was only an inner circle of people that knew about what was going to take place, were they setting this person up or persons up in some way? Were they watching this person in some way? Is it something inside the Trump administration in some way? It's possible. I don't know. But I think this is a problem. I think we should look at this and say, what was this whole thing? Was this whole thing going to Camp David? Was because it's a lot more safer. They had guardrails up. There's much more activity to discuss things quietly and without any different, let's just say, machinations and let's just say information that was driveling out from the White House. I don't know. But it is odd in some way. They went there, and then this weekend he pulls back. It seems to me that there was something else going on about a mole hunt or some way. Some people call it something else, like a canary thing, a canary catch or whatever it is. But I think that overall there was something odd about Camp David shutting this down, letting them know that something was going to happen, if anything was going to happen, or maybe they didn't have plans for anything to happen. Have you considered that? This is in Iran. It's all about the tunnels being cleaned out. When that's done, the war will be over. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think a lot of this stuff, when he gives out these stalling tactics or false narratives and stuff, things are in an operational go behind the scenes. And then everything else is just a distraction. And I think that a lot of people are hyperbolic. They're overly just like sensitive about discussing this in some ways because we don't really know what's going on. I mean, behind the scenes, things could be being whittled out as we speak. We just don't know. They keep us guessing all the time. They only tell us what we need to know and when it's necessary. Let me show you a couple of other things that what's going on now. So the FBI. So President Trump, he also said, I think this was important too. He said the other day at Camp David, I think it was Friday. He said, look, the attacks that are going on, that we're hearing in our infrastructure that's happening all over the place. Well, let me show you this, because he said, it's not Iran. Iran is too mobilized and too focused on other things. And I you know what? I don't disagree. I think there's something else going on. I think a lot of people are basically kind of just like stuck in some type of like, I don't know, partition of reality. I'm looking for my thoughts and my notes that I had. There's something off about this whole thing. And at least 7 states, okay, that are reporting water systems. Now, President Trump, he went after the governor of Minnesota. He said it's probably them, the most likely or realistic outcome. Occam's razor, the simplest explanation. It's them. Let me blow this up. Michigan officials He says Michigan officials confirm 2 deaths linked to cyclosporus. Okay, so is the water being contaminated? Officials in Minnesota, however, stressed cyber attacks did not impact water quality. On Saturday, attacks spread to Michigan, reporting the FBI and our interagency partners are fully engaged to protect our official infrastructure, and we remain well equipped. Trump, Iran, unbelievably duplicitous over peace talks, identified the threat to programmable logic controllers, or the PLCs in the water systems, and purged infrastructure owners to remove publicly exposed PLCs from the internet. Michael McAndrews, a former special agent of the FBI cyber team, told News Nation that these attacks are common and concur on massive scales with bad actors exploiting parts of our critical infrastructure tied to the internet, possibly with simple default passwords. What happens is the attackers will scan the internet and they will look for the signature known devices, which they can find, and they will simply try to find the default password. Okay, it can't be that simple. It can't be that simple in some ways. I mean, that's what I don't understand. Is it that simple that we're overlooking, we're overstating? It's, in some ways. I mean, I'm not really sure what to make of it. All right, but there is something. A lot of people are noticing, they're discussing, they're saying, I'm not really sure. I mean, I think that the problem about these attacks in some way, it's easy to target and say, well, it's external sources and stuff. But when President Trump mentioned that it's coming from inside, what is the realistic expectation that there are people inside right now, nefariously subversives, that are trying to destroy the infrastructure, to attack the infrastructure in so many ways? I mean, you have to consider that. You have to think about that logically. You can't just say that it's Iran and then just, pop off and generally assume that is. Why is the FBI looking into it right here, right now? I mean, there must be something that's in tow that they're looking at to suggest that these attacks are happening from within our infrastructure. Today, I want to mention that we heard Minnesota where there was a cyber attack, and they blame it on Iran. Now, we were told to expect these types of scenarios. Remember, we were told a long time ago that certain attacks will take place on our infrastructure, not just the water, with food. Now you're hearing the fear porn with the diesel and the gas. Let me just say this. The narrative about the cyber attacks on the water facilities and treatment centers is being solely, let's just say, foisted upon or directed or propelled to capture the attention of the American audiences and to be blamed on foreign entities. And yet there is no such proof. There hasn't been. They're still looking at this in so many ways. So consider that. They're still investigating. So why is Trump calling out Minnesota's governor and the leadership and not Iran? Ask yourself, who would have an ample amount of time, an ability, a capacity, a capability, a potential in some way to create such a panic and alarm? And who could pause or push off something that is so incredibly stealthy-like or inconspicuous or unobtrusive and lay it out at the feet of Trump and the Iran conflict? Consider that a lot of these marauders, these vandals, these saboteurs that are happening inside their states. I mean, think of what happened in Minnesota, where they killed the state senator, and this guy went on a rampage. He was going to kill a couple other people because they were cutting off the funding to illegals, healthcare to illegals. Who's to say that there are not elements, wet works inside these states and the municipalities that are out there that are solely for this type of engagement? And President Trump is right to suggest that and say, hey, look, Iran's got enough problems. I don't think there's any assertion in any way. We are just seeing the beginning, okay? I think right now, the very beginning of what's going to unfold in the next couple of months that we should be prepared for, because many people, I think right now, are not taking this seriously in so many different ways. We must take this seriously. And I think that our infrastructure right now is very vulnerable. And this is very disconcerting. And I think that personally that we will probably see a couple of things that happen very soon. I'm not really sure what's going to take place. I'm not. But keep your eye on this, because they're pushing all these other narratives all over the place about what? Diesel shortage, about food distribution and fuel shortages. So there's going to be some type of, kinetic event that's going to be involved, intertwined, where you're going to see certain things go down in certain cities and certain infrastructures. Not all of them are going to be simultaneously, because they're all separate and independent. They're not all connected. We don't have the power grid on one old grid. I mean, the whole areas and stuff, like the water is not connected, interlocked throughout where everybody else gets the water on the same thing. So you just push one button and it goes off. There are multi-layered facets of getting in there. But it seems to me that it's much more logical to suggest that people inside the state are trying to do this to undercut the president, say, put pressure on and say, hey, look, you got to stop the Iran war. And they're trying to blame this on what? Blame this on who? Blame this on President Trump. Put this at his feet. You're seeing how they're trying to do it. And maybe they are working with the enemy. Okay? Maybe they are working with the enemy, and you have to consider that. All right. Couple more things, and then we're out of here. I want to show you this. Let's see if this plays. Let me just show you this. Now, I guess MTG is going on this cameo thing all over. She's been interviewed by Brandon Straka. She's talking about all stuff. So she thinks, freely puts this out, hey, former MTG rep, is it Trump's fault you're embracing and sharing laugh with Haley Robinson during your political theater? Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's sexual abuse. News conference on Capitol Hill on 9/3/25. She's an Epstein co-conspirator. An 18-year-old Haley Robson was paid to recruit young girls 14 to 16 for Epstein. That's what I've been saying, that a lot of these women could be indicted as co-conspirators, and it's a lot worse than we know. And you need to what? You used to hear her manipulate the American people and peddle the Epstein hoax. You refer to her as a victim. You're a vile, vicious person, and your grift is being exposed. Yeah, exactly. I mean, she's going on this cameo tour, and a lot of people are pushing back about how she's acting and what she's doing, and the focus of how she's spreading this this mantra out there. You know, duplicitous actions that they are forming, that they're saying are giving weight and power for people like Al-Sayed and many other subversives and many other radical Democrats or radical progressives or communists to move through the ranks, to continue up while they undercut President Trump left and right. They handicap him left and right. When do you think we're still winning? My hubs seems to think we're losing to communism. I think the battle is not yet, let's just say the battle has not gone down yet. I think we're going to see something in October. We're going to see we're going to see if we're going to have an election. We're going to see what they're going to do in some way to obstruct and stop and hinder the election. We're going to see how that all plays out. Look, I don't think we're losing. I think we're made to see what happens if they do take over, if they do move through certain positions in our government, whether it's in Congress or in the Senate. Yes, you're starting to see more and more people that are spread out, and this is a warning sign. This is a warning sign. This has made people to realize we got a serious problem here, and we better fix this problem. If we don't fix this problem in time, we're going to lose our country. You can't put terrorists, okay, and you can't put these socialists and Marxists in there. I mean, look at Bernie Sanders, how batshit crazy he's been in here for a long time. And then you got Susan Collins is like, I'm not voting for Todd Blanche. But yet you voted for a lot of other crazy people. You voted for Merrick Garland. You voted for other people. You voted for Kagan. You know, Ketanji Brown Jackson. You voted for these people, but you're not going to vote for Todd Blanche. See, the problem is that what President Trump is facing, he's fighting a two-front war. He's trying to elevate and show the Republicans, the rhino cucks, that, look, your ways of doing things are over. It's done. It's finished. You need to move on. You need to change your ways. Or the other thing is, all right, he's showing you how bad the other side is looking, how bad the other side is giving in to temptation to help surrender this country. Yes, all the subversives that are involved in so many different ways of bringing down this country. I think so. Let me cover this. All right, one more thing. Oh, let's get into this. So your favorite person, I want to cover this. So your favorite person is back in this. Hold on a second. So apparently Rosie O'Donnell, this is going to be great. Rosie O'Donnell is back in the forefront. So this fat pig, she's in the forefront. She's back at it. She's back at it right now. And she's on this interview. President Trump could sue Rosie O'Donnell into poverty. Now, she's going to be hosting one of the shows. I don't know, one of the late shows. I have it on the Daily Mail. I covered. How about right to his face? Listen to what she says. She could be sued. I mean, the fact that she's saying, and then she's going to go on this on the show that she's going to be hosting. I don't know. It's a Jimmy Kimmel show. One of the shows she's going to be hosting. All right. For the summer.
To his face, fuck you, you pedophile. Who do you think you are?
This is coming from a fat lesbian piece of shit who one's daughter's in jail. She took the other daughter with her to Ireland, and she had to get the hell out of here because she couldn't handle America and the pushback because she had she was suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. But yet her other daughter and her kid that she has, I don't know how that happens. How did she create this? Okay, where did they get the sperm for her test tube dummies that she has as girls? Okay, that she calls children. That this idiot twat is speaking about. When she left one kid, okay, who's got mental disease and a drug problem, and left her child to live in filth and squalor and shit and stuff, and she has done nothing for that kid. All right. And this one comes out here starting like she has the moral high ground, like in some way, and she's calling him a pedophile. It's embarrassing that these people are. They're disgusting people. They're nasty people. And they're all the same people. They all got the same type. Look at her.
That's what I would say to him.
I've always, no, you would.
How about a right to his face? Fuck.
Oh, look, and she's with Anna Navarro. Another fucking piece of shit. Another garbage human and stuff. These people are embarrassing. They're sad. They make me sick. And she's going to be, I think what it is that she's coming back. I had it here. The Daily Mail put this out. So the Daily Mail has this out that the return of The View. She's coming back to The View. I guess she's coming back to The View. I don't know what's happening. She's returning to The View. I don't know. I mean, I thought she was going to be hosting a show, The View, after leaving the show twice and clashing with Whoopi Goldberg. She'll be back to return to the show, coming 30th anniversary special. So she's going to be there, I guess, 1 or 2 times. I don't know. Whatever. So I guess the ratings are suffering. They're worried about ABC in some way. I think she was supposed to host the Jimmy Kimmel show for one of the summer operations. I'm not really sure what's going on. But why is she back here? It does seem odd in some way. Is that her? She got more adrenochrome, or is this not her? Have you seen Oprah lately? Oprah looks bad. Oprah looks really bad. I mean, they can't be hiding that clone that they were shuffling around. Oprah looks really bad. I mean, she looks ugly. I want to show you this, and then we'll dip out of here. I want to show you this. Did anybody? I put this out there on my X. We are ice free. If you guys ever go over there, but this was interesting. So the musician reveals his 1990 song is actually about the Genesis 6-4 Nephilim. Let me show you this. I thought this was quite odd. I think this might blow your mind, so I'm taking a quick break and covering politics to bring you something quite out of the ordinary. I covered Genesis 6-4 here on WLRT Report many times about the Nephilim. But the new thing is I talked to you today about the biggest hits in the 1990s Goo Goo Dolls song, Iris. I'm sure you've heard of it, probably many times. But what you've not realized is because I didn't learn about it until today, that the song is basically ripped from the pages of Genesis 6:4 and Jude 1:6. And what's all been again, what has all will be again, and what has been done will be done again. And there's nothing new under the sun. Jude 1:6 talks about the angels who did not keep their first estate, which means they left heaven and came to earth. And the angels which kept their not first estate, but left their own habitation, for he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness and under judgment of the great day. It goes on here, it says, I give up forever to touch you, because I know that you feel me somehow. You're the closest to heaven that I'll ever be, and I don't want to go home right now. And all I can taste is this moment, and all I can do is breathe you. I'll play the song a little bit. I don't want to read this. I'll probably get nailed on YouTube, but I don't care. But the fact is that this song, in some way, was putting this out and was quoting Genesis verses in some way, and what this was about. Why won't this song die? Interesting. Let's see if it'll play.
And I was asking, am I supposed to be doing this? Is this really, am I supposed to be a songwriter? Am I supposed to be a musician? Is this what I'm supposed to do with my life? So I kept asking.
I'll play a little bit of this.
People spend their whole lives avoiding the things that might hurt them.
I do like that song too.
Flocking to certainty out of fear of the unknown. Every once in a while, someone comes along and does the opposite, who sees the risk clearly and chooses it anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna get nailed on
This is a story about
YouTube.
someone who has forever and gives it up for something that might not last at all. It's about a decision to move past what feels safe to feel something real. That's what the song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls is built on. And what's extraordinary is the man who wrote it was wrestling with the exact same fight.
And I'd give up forever to touch you.
It's 1997, and John Resnick is living all alone in a hotel room in West Hollywood. His marriage had just fallen apart, his career in question, and all that's in front of him is a guitar with 4 strings, because he'd snapped the other 2. Then his manager calls, talking about a movie in production called City of Angels.
So I was watching it, and then there's one particular scene. We want you to write something for this scene. I would rather have had one breath of her hair. This guy is an angel. He's immortal. He's willing to give up that immortality because he's never felt. One touch of her hand, and an eternity without it.
The idea is simple. Nicolas Cage's character is an angel. He already has forever, yet he's choosing to give it up for one moment with someone who might not even choose him back. That's the risk at the center of the story. And the only way a song written for this scene works is if the person writing it already knows what that risk feels like. As it turns out, at that point in his life, John was exactly that person.
First of all, how did you guys all meet each other? Were you guys lifelong friends, which it seems like you are? And did you guys start out as a cover band?
No, we're just foolish college kids, you know? We played a lot of covers when we first started because we didn't have enough material to do a whole set, you know?
To understand why this call hit John the way it did, you have to go back a little further. The Goo Goo Dolls were not the kind of band you'd expect to be writing a song like this. They came up as punk rockers in Buffalo, New York. They were rough around the edges and struggled finding an identity in their sound.
And now we're grown up orphans that never knew their names. You don't belong.
In 95, they had a hit with Name, but that didn't make things easier. If anything, it increased the pressure. After kicking out their drummer and legal battles over a horrible record deal, John fell into a writer's block, a depression that made him question everything.
And I was asking, am I supposed to be doing this? Is this really, you know, am I supposed to be a songwriter? Am I supposed to be a musician? Is this what I'm supposed to do with my life? So I kept asking.
After a year, the band got him to come out of seclusion and come back to Buffalo to work on new material.
The ironic thing about writer's block, see, is that you write the whole time, you know? You just think everything sucks.
John wasn't sure if he could catch lightning in a bottle again, and then a movie about an angel who had to give up everything just to feel something landed in front of a man who was facing that exact question. John had to decide if he'd push through. Months pass, but Buffalo doesn't unlock anything, so he heads back to LA, back to that hotel room, and then the call comes. One question, one movie scene.
I really have been kicking myself trying to find the perfect piece of music to really sum up this sort of intimate quest of Nick Cage's in the picture, which is to dare to make the leap into
I
the
never
unknown,
saw
to
the
dare to
movie,
hope
so
that
I
Brian's
have
gonna
no
open the
idea.
door for him.
An angel watching someone he loves, fully aware that she can't see or hear him, and deciding whether to give that all up just to be with her. Instead of trying to write a song about that, John puts himself in the character's shoes.
And then I just thought to myself, like, if I was that guy, what would I say to that girl?
And you can't fight the tears that ain't coming.
He isn't describing love, he's describing what it costs, what it actually feels like when you decide to get real.
Oh, the moment of truth in your lies.
Because once you make that decision, you don't get to stay protected anymore. You feel everything that comes with it, whether you're ready or not.
And I think it's the flaws in life that makes it beautiful. It's the kind of beauty that isn't done with good lighting and that kind of thing. It's something visceral or humbling in a way, and it could kill you.
In the movie, he has to jump. In the song, he already has.
When everything feels like the movies, yeah, you bleed just to know you're alive.
All he wants is to be seen for one moment by someone who actually knows who he is. It's a feeling built into the song, but not just the words, the sound carries it too. That same instinct shows up in how the song was actually built, and it starts with guitar before anything else.
For the sake of argument, this is a B, a D, a D.
All right, I dropped it in the chat. I don't want to play too much of this. I enjoyed this. I think you guys should check it out. It was really interesting. Watch the rest of it. But, you know, when I heard that was, you know, and it's from the Nephilim that came out of that and the whole storyline behind it. It's a very interesting, let's just say, take on that. And it just caught me by surprise. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I mean, just to move away from something different. Let me drop the pills out there. You know, I think in some way, it just caught me. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Why would they put this out there? But the fact that he was mentioning it's about Genesis and there was something else about this that had, you know, it just, there was something there, I think, that that just captivated me in some way. I never saw the movie. The song's great. But overall, though, it was just an odd thing, right? And why now? Why discuss this now? Why talk about this now? What is it that makes this this so much ethereal? Why is it really like at this moment we're discussing this? So that's what really captured me, like understanding what this was about. Why do this now? What was it that was so germane for you to get this out? Why didn't you say this like 10 years ago, 15 years ago in some way? I don't know. That's just what I thought. And maybe you guys will have a different opinion about it. So until I see feet swing, I understand. I see you, a boneless chicken, Casey Snowman. Yeah, I agree with you guys. You know how my feelings are about, I want all these people hung and shot, but are we ever going to get to see that though? I mean, is there going to be a pay-per-view event that we're going to see all these people allocute for their crimes, live executions in some way? Are we going to have some video feed? Is it going to come straight from Space Force? Probably not. I mean, hell, there's so many scary things that are out there that they're not even going to tell us, like aliens walking among us, probably. All right. There's a lot of things out there. I mean, the idea that we're not going to know 20% of the stuff out there because it could kill us or it maim us, or a lot of people are going to be affected. I want it all. I want it all. And it's sad that we're not going to get it. See, that's what bothers me about all this stuff. What bothers me about all this stuff is that we're not going to see a lot of this stuff. We're just not. They're just going to give us enough stuff so we can move. We can't paralyze the country. We can't paralyze the world. We have to do a lot of stuff that's going to be teared down behind the scenes. And then when something is new built and something replaces it, maybe there'll be stories and books in some way. But that's it. They don't want to freeze the planet, stop the planet. They don't want to stop everything from going down. It just seems like that anything that today, because we're such a delicate and fragile scenario because of what comes out with people and stuff, it's just sad. I mean, and the fact is that we've moved away from all the woke shit. We moved away from all the other crap, and then it still around it still perforates around the edges. What's in the South Pole? What's all of it? Yeah, I know. Well, that's our show for tonight. I had a lot more, but I'm running out of time. But let me know what you think about that report I dropped in the thing. I thought that was quite interesting about that song, that it was written about fallen angels and the Nephilim. And in this time that we talk about these things today, that blew my mind. I was like, did you ever wonder? And when you read the lyrics and stuff, and then you go back and he correlates that too, all right, then I could see where he wrote that from the book of Genesis. And that makes a lot of sense. Well, that's our show for tonight. We will return on Friday, the Rise call-in show. Have a good night. Be well, be safe. Take care, guys. Thank you.